Trends come and go, and there are few things that remain timeless in the world of interior design. There are things that are in today and out tomorrow, and one of the most challenging things in my career as an interior designer is to figure out which ones have lasting power in your home. As an interior designer, there are so many ins and outs happening, and these current trending forecasts are ones that I personally believe have some timeless aspects to them and are worth putting in your home. First on the chopping block are sad beige homes and all white interiors. These are on their way out, and what is coming in is more personality and colorful infused interiors. I hate to say it, as warm as these sad beige homes look, they're dead. They are so bland, and we need to get away from this really bland, neutral color blocking look that does nothing for your space. I get it, beige is a really great neutral to bring in that warmth, but it lacks all texture, all dimension. Even though it has some detail to it, it really does not work in every space. Same thing can be said for those all white interiors. We're moving away from this Pinterest inspired home into something that is more relatable to who you are, how you live, and all these exciting and colorful, playful things that you put into it. These beige and white interiors are on their way out because we're trying to have more personality infused spaces. That's why I'm seeing so much more color, so much more textiles, so much more infusion of personality into a space that really allows this home to reflect you and your personal style. Yes, I can contest that there are many colors that are a little bit on the trendy side that end up being out and don't have as much lasting power. If you've watched any of my videos before, you know I am a huge advocate for bringing in those bold, rich, and moody colors in any of your spaces. If you are afraid to commit to them, I would isolate them to a smaller room like your powder room, your bathroom, or even your bedroom, because they create so much beautiful, rich color in your space. Yes, they absorb more light and make it feel a little bit more compact, but with the right level of lighting, you can create such a vibe. Another thing out are the acrylic tubs, and what's in are the tiled front tubs. Now, I've been doing this in so many of my client renovations because, let's be honest, those acrylic tubs look super dated. They really aren't that nice to look at. The shapes that they have on the front of them with those curves are usually super out of date. On top of that, the older they are, they tend to start yellowing over time depending on what cleaner you're actually using in them. These tiled front tubs are such a beautiful alternative to really hide the fact that you have a bathtub, because let's be honest, those 4-piece tub and shower combos are really not that nice to look at, and most of the time you have them as a necessity, and they're usually so small that most average people don't actually fit in the bathtub. But if you are going to have them, especially for resale value in a lot of homes, having these tiled fronts really allow you to seamlessly integrate them into the space so they feel like they're actually part of it and not just standing out. These tiled fronts are designed to actually use the consistency of whatever finish you're using within the shower or the floor. And these pictures are perfect examples how they completely blended the space so it's not this noticeable bright white box in the bottom of any room. Let's be honest, those white tubs are super contrasted with it. Having that tiled front, once again, really allows you to integrate it without being super noticeable. I know I'm gonna get a lot of hate for this one, but those rectangular and square mirrors that have been traditional for the longest period of time are on their way out, and I'm so happy about it. What's coming in are these more organic and fun shaped mirrors. Mirrors are the perfect opportunity to really infuse your space with something more artistic. Now, don't get me wrong, those rectangular and square ones serve a purpose. They're more utilitarian compared to these aspects of having that organic shape. What's really nice about them is that they can be a standalone art piece itself that really allow the space to come together. These are the perfect examples of these mirrors that really allow a space to come alive and feel like it's more of an artistic practice that you've added in versus a piece that's just added above a console table or within a bathroom that you're just looking at yourself in. The reason why I love organic mirrors in any space is because it really allows you to break up that static monotony of every single piece in a room being a rectangle or a square. That same shape is repeated time and time again, and I find it really dulls out that space with having so many sharp 90-degree angles. This is the perfect way to add in that sense of movement and fluidity without being too in your face. Another controversial one, but the quiet luxury trend is out in interiors, and those more personality infused interiors are what we are seeing, which I could not agree more with. Quiet luxury had its moment and it will continue to have its moment in terms of fashion, but when it comes to interiors, quiet luxury really depends on quality and craftsmanship. And what comes with that? An extremely high price tag, which is usually not attainable for a lot of people, especially in their homes, or else you end up just being house poor. It seems like this generation has given up on the luxury of having a home, and I get it. That shit is fucking expensive in terms of having your mortgage payment and everything all in. So people are spending on small, more luxurious items in their home to give them that satisfaction. So instead of having that $3 million home, you know what? They're spending $3,000 on a dining table, or $3,000 on a chair, or $8,000 on a sofa, because you know what? The quality is there and it brings them that sense of joy. That's why when you see these people being like, oh my God, these young millennials are spending money on designer bags. You know why, Karen? Because we cannot afford a house. And this bag is giving us that sense of joy, so we're gonna keep it.
I need them to see. They're not bringing me joy.
For the last little while now, polished surfaces have been on their way out, and we are starting to see a lot more texture and dimension in honed leather and matte finishes throughout our home, regardless of what surface we're using it for. This can especially be said for kitchen countertops and even for tiles throughout the home. That polished look has always been that kind of like luxurious look, especially if you live in Miami. Everything is super fucking reflective. But in this instance, it ends up being more of a pain throughout your home. Those polished finishes show absolutely everything and they reflect everything. And depending on how much natural or artificial light you have in your space, it ends up being more of a hindrance than it actually does look good. Plus, depending on how many pot lights you have, those reflective surfaces on the floor and your countertops will literally show everything. If you don't know what I'm talking about, go to a rich person's home. Look how many pot lights they have. You can literally see it all on the floor. It adds so much visual clutter to a space, which ends up making it feel and look so much busier than it needs to be. A matte finish isn't anything new, but it's starting to become more popular and in my opinion has so much timeless appeal to it, especially for your kitchen countertops. Those matte finishes, which is also known as honed, if you're looking for those solid surfaces within the natural stone category. You can even go for a leathered finish. If you have not seen a leathered finish in a natural stone, let me tell you how beautiful it is. It gives you that subtle sense of texture that is matte that really allows you to see that natural stone so it looks so fresh and clean without it giving you that very kind of polished concrete look. The great thing about a leathered finish too is it allows your space to give a little bit more texture and dimension, especially in a kitchen where it's typically very flat with all surfaces included. I've been saying this for a while now, but sliding and barn doors are on their way out. They should have been out quite some time ago. And what's being installed into homes is pocket doors. I know they are more expensive, but they are so much more worth it in any space. I find these sliding and these barn doors, first of all, the hardware is super ugly. Most of these doors do not look great in a space, and if we're being honest, they're literally called barn door for a reason, because they belong in a barn. They do not belong in your home, depending on your style. Literally barn doors, people. One of the major issues that I find with these is that they also take up a lot of surface area on your walls. The hardware literally comes outside the door onto the wall beside it, which means you reduce any area for paintings, mirrors, artwork, and even paint to begin with to really encapsulate the entire space and design. This door is now double the size because it takes up twice the amount of linear footage of where the door is going to be. The reason why I love pocket doors is because in comparison to these barn doors, it is hidden within the wall. You do not see it. You don't even have to know it's there. It really adds that beautiful, quiet luxury sense to it that feels very smooth and very compatible with your design. The other great thing about these pocket doors is that they can be left open for your space to feel actually larger and grander instead of these sliding doors where you literally still see the door, which still gives you that visual block from room to room. It makes it very expansive. On any home that I work on with clients, I always recommend going with pocket doors because it reduces that footprint of a swing door that comes in or out, which also reduces the room size itself. With these pocket doors, you gain that almost 10 square feet that doesn't feel like it actually fits into the room and impedes your sense. I don't know about you, but if you live in a condo and you have a swing door into your bathroom, it feels like your bathroom is now 2 times smaller. I have a personal vendetta against those 12 by 24 tiles, and I am so glad that they are starting to be phased out. Literally, they are just a larger format subway tile. They look very builder grade basic, and they don't add much style to your space, especially if you do them in that brick style pattern, which is also another personal hate of mine. What I'm seeing introduced that has much more timeless lasting power are large format tiles. They take up less overall visual space in a room and can actually make those bedrooms and bathrooms or even your floors feel much larger because there's less grout lines. I will always recommend a slab format for anything, but at the end of the day, slab formats are very expensive and they don't always fit within everyone's budget. Larger format tiles in general always look so good in a space because it really allows you to extend the visual look of a room, whether using it on the floor or on the wall in a bathroom, especially if you have a small space. Like I said, you're reducing that grout line, which extends the visual look, which will always make it look bigger. This recent renovation I did for a client, look at the before, and now look at the after. 1, it looks like a completely different bathroom, and 2, these large 30 by 30 tiles replaced what they had to really make it feel so much bigger and so much more luxurious. And yes, size does matter. Are you having a seizure? No, I'm trying to wink. We've been slowly moving away from this super sleek contemporary home into something that's a little bit more personalized. And that's why these flat style cabinets are out and these texturized ones are in. Now let me preface, flat cabinets in my opinion always look good, but we're moving away from those flat, matte, singular colors. Yes, it really kind of extends the space because it's all consistent, but at the same time, you're losing that level of dimension and detail. When we're introducing that into our home, it gives you that really subtle approach to design that's not super noticeable. That being said, we're moving from these flat panels into a more texturized one with a wood grain, which I know people are gonna be like, hey, we had the wood grain detail before. We're moving away from that. Look at the colors that are used in these grain details. You can get something with a high texture or a low texture. As long as it gives you that subtle sense of dimension, it really allows that space to be broken up from flat, flat, flat. And when I say that, I'm talking about your uppers, your lowers, and your countertop, even your backsplash. If you don't have any level of detail there, it just looks like it blends into the space, which can be good in a sense, but in the overall grand scheme of things, doesn't look like it was thoughtfully designed. So continuing the same flooring in your foyer is out and bringing in that beautiful tile is in. And I have always been an advocate for having a really beautiful sculptural tile in your foyer to make that wow impression. Typically, I always design a space with the same flooring throughout to make it feel consistent, and it also helps extend the space a little bit more. Your foyer is the exception where you can really have something beautiful and creative there. You can spend a little bit more money on these tiles because the square footage footprint is usually much smaller. So in the grand scheme of things, it doesn't cost you an insane amount when you're looking for something with a detailed tile that ends up costing you a little bit more than another tile in comparison. These are some perfect examples of tiles to really create a wow impact in your foyer that really allows you to set the tone for the rest of your space for yourself as well as your guests. Also, if you live in a climate that shares multiple seasons like I do here in Canada, you are bombarded with salt, snow, rain, and it destroys hardwood flooring. Having these tiles in your foyer where you're taking your boots on and off is the perfect way to also protect the floors in the rest of your house. As I've said before, everyone has their own ins and outs of what they like and they don't like. But this is what I'm seeing in my clients' homes, as well as all over that's starting to take shape and hold. All timeless aspects at one point or another started off as a trend, and if enough people cut on, it ends up sticking. Otherwise, it ends up being completely forgotten. As we continue to advance our design styles in our home, there are always going to be some bizarre things that come to the light and take shape, but everything that we went through, I can stand behind and highly recommend, as it has some serious lasting power in your home, from not only a functional standpoint, but also from an aesthetic one. Let me know in the comments below on what you think is in and what you think is out. Be sure to like this video, and if you haven't already, subscribe to my channel. You can also follow me on Instagram and TikTok for all my daily design advice and Mr. Phoenix Gray. And if you're ever second guessing yourself, just ask, what would Design Daddy do? WWDD.